go ahead and get started. Good morning. Thank you for joining today's Friday, March 15, 2019 for the regular scheduled TDC Council meeting. Thank you. Please have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. We do the roll call, please. Here.
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 Here. Here. Great, thank you. Move on to, we could get approval for the February 14, 2019 TDC meetings. The minutes. We get a motion for approval for the minutes. We have a motion by Brock. We have a second by Holly. Any discussion? Any corrections? Any objections? No objection. Motion carries. This time of public comment at this time. Any public comment? No.
One and only famous John Lipke returning.
At the podium.
At the podium, sir.
I'm new to this. No, thanks everybody for letting me speak here. I'm with a company called Think Simplicity. There's some flyers and the board members' positions, and I put some extra ones in the back. What we do is we're a phone system PBX provider for hotels and resorts. We actually provide services. We're a certified provider for Marriott, Hilton, Holiday Inn, IHG, Radisson, etc. One of the things that sets us apart is we are the direct provider. There's no third party. So if you're a hotel owner or even a vacation rental that needs an upgraded phone system or replacement, or even if you're a developer building a new property, we can provide you with a free quote, and we'd love to do that. Just a few quick things. We also provide carrier services. So unlike our competitors, we provide carrier services for one low price, and the quote itself includes all of the things you'd need to run your hotel from a PBX phone system standpoint. We do offer a discount for Lee County, a 10% discount. So if you're looking for a quote to upgrade your phone system or replace it, please let me know. There's some flyers in the back, and would like to be able to try to work with you guys. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment at this time?
I'm Danielle Flood. I'm here representing ECHO, and you have supported us very generously in the past, and I just wanted to tell you that our 28th annual ECHO Global Food and Farm Festival is happening tomorrow, and we're so thankful for the community, for sponsors that have partnered with us, and for people that come out and share. We have a cooking stage, international food tastings, demonstrations of hunger around the world and how to overcome it, and it's a great local event. So if you want to learn more about that, I do have cards today, but I really just came to say thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment? Move on to the municipalities to be heard. Any municipalities?
Good morning. My name is Kristen Bean, and I have Michelle Dean, our marketing coordinator for the City of Cape Coral, and I plan events for the City of Cape Coral. And we just wanted to thank you for all your support with our events. And we have Sounds of Jazz and Blues, our 28th year, coming up on Saturday, March 30th. We have a national group called the Rippingtons, and so we're really excited about that. We also have Cape Coral, our final Cape Coral Bike Night of the season is going to be on Saturday, April 13th, and we're really excited about an event that we're working on in fiscal year 2020. It's going to be a craft beer festival, currently going to be the only craft beer festival in Cape Coral, and it's going to be right across from the Westin. where we also do Sounds of Jazz. So we partner with the West and Cape Coral on a few events, Sounds of Jazz, and then next year is going to be this craft beer festival we're working on.
So we did want to invite the TDC members, if anybody would like to come to Sounds of Jazz this year on Saturday, March the 30th, please see Kristen and me after. And just also wanted to let you all know that progress is being made on the Go Bond over in Cape Coral. There's the Selection Advisory Committee is going to be making recommendations. There's 3 companies that bid to do the build and design of the 11 parks that we're working on right now. So we're really excited about this time in Cape Coral and all the new parks that will be coming online. Public input will be happening this fall. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Great. Any other municipalities to be heard? Any other public comment at this time to be heard? Before we close public comment?
To the podium.
Hi. Let me breathe for a minute. My name is Ginny Smith, and I'm the president of the Friends of the Matanzas Past Preserve on Fort Myers Beach. I'm here today to talk to you about a large section of our boardwalk which was damaged during Hurricane Irma, which today remains unrepaired. This particular section of boardwalk is vital to our preserve, as it is the only section where visitors can actually walk through a mangrove forest. This simple act is vital for one's understanding and appreciation of the unique and vital role that our mangroves play in our estuary environment. There's no other place on Fort Myers Beach where residents and visitors can come to learn and experience firsthand what and how our mangroves work, from their vital role as fish and shrimp hatcheries to storm surge protection to the unique properties of mangroves that allow them to thrive in a saltwater environment. In partnership with Lee County Parks and Rec, we offer 3 different guided walks in the preserve, all of which need access to the closed section of boardwalk. This is the second season where visitors have been stopped by an ugly gorilla cage barricade. The visitors go through the preserve during season, number in the thousands. Many of these visitors come to our walks year after year, so we know they are return visitors to the preserve. How does it look for Lee County for a large section of our preserve to be closed for 2 consecutive seasons? We also offer 2 different programs for local school children, neither of which we've been able to do for the past 2 years. Because such a large section has been blocked off for visitors for so long, a new problem has developed: safety. The homeless population have taken up residence in this section. If visitors were able to access this area of the preserve, their numbers alone would keep the homeless away. I do not think I have to remind any of you of the tragic outcome of an encounter between a homeless person and our librarian back in February. We have been told it'll take 2 additional years to replace the boardwalk. It's tied in with a great project to expand the boardwalk, which we're very eager to have done. But we're asking at this point, can we please fix the portion that has been damaged so that we can go back to our programs and go back to educating the public. Oh, and did I mention, the section of trail which has been closed for so long is the Smith Trail. A little personal to me, and it should be to y'all too, because it was named after your very own First Lady of Tourism, Roxy Smith. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll close public comment, and we'll move on to the first presentation. I'd like to introduce Jeff Mulder. Jeff is here from the RSW. He has some great news to give us an updates on the airport, and thank you for Fran also for being involved in requesting this, because it's great information. So, Jeff, thank you for being here and sharing everything, all the great news going on at the airport, and I just want to give a shout out to Jeff and his staff. Me and Tam and a lot of the staff just got back last week from Germany from the ITB show, and I had the pleasure of working with their staff from the airport and Tam's staff and Brian and Carol from the airport. So they did a great job, and you got great representation. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning again. Jeff Mulder, Lee County Port Authority. So we operate and manage Southwest Florida International Airport and Page Field. And I wanted to just bring everybody up to speed on some projects that at RSW that are in the works and are coming up, and all about what's happening in our community and at the airport. And really, it's being driven by the growth that we're seeing in the community in our tourism and the impacts on the airport. And so the objectives of the project of modernization is, obviously it's a passenger experience situation. When you're dealing with checkpoint lines and baggage systems and everything else, it all impacts how the passenger goes through the building, either arriving or departing, and we want to make that process as smooth as possible. So we're talking about the passenger experience, the check-in process, the aesthetic enhancements, and those are some of the things that are underway right now. Start with the project that will begin this summer is, so this is a picture of the ticket counter area that we have in the terminal building. And so we've been in the building since 2005, and we wanted to provide an update, really aesthetic-wise, and an image for the community. And like you would, if you've been in a home for almost 15 years, you maybe want to do remodeling. That's kind of what we're doing. And so what we are about to do is to present a remodel into something like this, with changing the counters out, putting some color in that reflects Florida and Southwest Florida. And so we also will be adding quite a bit of digital signage in the back side of the ticket counter area and above. Today we have some digital signage, but we'll be adding quite a bit more. It provides a better aesthetic view. It's easier for passengers to see and read. It's more vibrant, and so that's a big part of the project. So it'll happen this summer, and the transition will happen during nighttime hours, so that the airlines will be able to continue to operate in the ticket counter. But it'll take probably 2 months of work. But it'll be finished by this fall. So we'll have a nice upgrade in our ticket lobby area. Likewise, in the gate areas, we'll be moving from what we have there today to something like that, which is a more modern look. And also we'll have more digital signage that's dynamic and changing and provides better information to the travelers as they're waiting to get on the airplane. And then we'll also have some upgrades in signage on the curb that also is helpful for travelers who are coming in to drop off passengers or looking for the right airline to stop at and get out and begin their travel journey. The bigger project that we're in design phase for now really is around a couple operational functions that we need to expand. One is the security checkpoints, and if you've traveled, you know that this time of year our checkpoint lines are very long, and the challenge, of course, is making sure the travelers get to the checkpoint and get on their airplane. And we, as our staff, are always communicating for travelers to arrive early. And every year, the lines get longer because we continue to grow. And so the project that we are going to be beginning next year will address the checkpoint capacity issue that we're dealing with today. It will also help us with providing more. We're going to reorient the terminal building, and it will allow us to put more concession operations, food and beverage and gift shops past the checkpoint. We don't have enough today, and we see long lines for restaurants and gift shops. So when we reorient the terminal building with our new project, we'll have more of those options past the checkpoints for the customers. It'll also connect all the concourses together, which will be very helpful for utilizing the gates that we have and other amenities, and enhance some of the aesthetics that we have. So to kind of orient you with what we have today, here's the main terminal building, here's the ticketing area. We have 3 concourses, concourses B, C, and D. And just, I assume a question I had when I got here a couple years ago was, well, where's Concourse A? Well, actually, Concourse A will be constructed off of this side in the future, and Concourse E over here. So that's why they named them B, C, and D. But each of the concourses has its own checkpoint today. There's B, there is C, and there is D. And when the building was under design back in the early 2000s, the checkpoints were actually supposed to go in the 2 atrium areas that we have. Well, 9/11 happened, which changed everything when it comes to airport security, and it was determined those 2 locations wouldn't work when the building opened up in 2005, so we ended up putting them at the head of each of the concourses. Ultimately, that's worked well for about 13 years, but now we just don't have enough capacity in those locations. So we did a planning study about 1.5 years ago that included the airlines and the TSA, and determined the best approach would be to take all 3 checkpoints and put them in the middle of the building and have one common checkpoint, which will go in this area right there. What that will do is provide more capacity for our operations. When you have 4 lanes at each checkpoint today, the new center checkpoint will start out with 14 lanes and then be expandable to 18 lanes. So we'll go ultimately from 12 to 18 lanes. It also helps when it comes to staffing. So today the TSA has to staff 3 separate locations. A center checkpoint, they just staff 1 location. It does much better for the different loads that we get. For instance, on D concourse, we have a number of peaks, like between 8:30 and 10:30, there's always a line at D concourse. Then there's a line at noon to 2 o'clock at C, and you can balance some of those loads and get much better utility out of your checkpoint operations. So this is essentially what we'll end up with. So again, and we have a video that our architect put together that's a walk through the new space in just a minute. But the process will work like this. You'll still come into the ticketing area, and then you'll enter the checkpoint queue from either this atrium over here or this atrium over there. So you come in from either side, you work your way through the stanchions, and then you go through the checkpoint screening area here, and then you proceed out to either one of the concourses, C directly ahead, B to the right, or D in this direction. The benefit also is that, so we're taking the building and we're bumping it out in this area to provide the space for the new center checkpoint. We will now have a lot of extra space here as you go towards concourse B, and in the middle and D that we can add restaurants and gift shops. And then all of those, of course, will be available to all the passengers at the airport, because now all 3 concourses are connected. So we help ourselves in that manner, also providing many more options for our customers when they use the airport. This kind of shows you a bird's eye view. This is what the terminal is today with our 3 concourses and our main terminal. This is the ticket lobby area in the front. This area here would be the addition, which it kind of mirrors, and that will kind of mirror now the front side of the airport, where the ticketing lobby has the high arch ceiling. Well, now the back side of the main building will have a high arch ceiling, so it'll look in some regards like the front side. And there's another view of it. This area in the shaded part, that's the new addition of the building. So it ends up being quite a bit of new space once you provide enough room for the new checkpoint, and then you connect all the concourses. And then after this slide, it should roll into our video. And so I'm just going to talk as this person walks through. And obviously they're coming in off the curb today, and we're walking in. And this is the atrium here. We call it the East Side Atrium. And this is the ticket lobby that we have today. And it shows some of the updated counters and signage that we'll have. The atrium areas will, for the most part, look the same, but there'll be an additional space beyond. You may be able to see through the glass there. That's now past security, and that's where people will work their way to the concourses after going through security. That's one of the entrances to security. This kind of just pans around and looks at the atrium area as it is today. And I think next this person will be walking through security. And again, everyone going to any of the concourses, the gates will come into this queuing area. And you can see it's a large queuing area. It goes all, you hardly see the end of it. And with technology, we're just hurtling right through all of these stanchions. Wish you could do that when you go in today, but you can't. The lines are long. So someone will work their way through the queuing area, and then they will go to the document checker and go through security. And it'd be great if you go through security this quickly, but for demonstration purposes, I just wanted to show you how everything looks. So now you'll walk out into the new space. This is the new space. You can see it's a high, expansive roof area. This is where someone would recompose, put all their things back together, of course, and then head on out into the new area. And so you'll have new restaurants and gift shops in this area, right in the center of everything. And you're headed towards Concourse B in that area, and then this is Concourse C. We added some features that we're looking at, some wood features that we see here in Southwest Florida, and it's a terrazzo floor. We're still working on some ideas on that, and we'll share those with our board here in the next couple of months for ideas. This just represents the terrazzo floor at this point in time. But you can see it's a high expansive area, lots of nice glass, and we will have what we have today in the terminal. We'll have some display areas for people to sit. They can look out on the apron area, look at the airplanes waiting for their flight to depart. So now we're walking towards Concourse B, and this area is the atrium. So now you're on the other side looking back in from where you walked in. And this is actually where people will exit. It's an automated exit lane that will just walk through, and as they come off the airplane and go to baggage claim, they'll take a right turn and go right through there. We have a similar one on the other side. This area is also new building space, and it's not well defined right now, but this will be one of our food court areas, and there'll be a similar food court on in the other side of the expansion area going towards Concourse B. We certainly will be adding features that represent scenic visions here for Southwest Florida. This will be an area. I think today this space is where we have our Dunkin' Donut area, but that'd be a sit-down restaurant. Now we're heading towards where the B checkpoint is, and we're going to take this checkpoint space, and we don't need the whole ramp area, so we're going to divide the ramp area, and this will be an airline passenger lounge. We've had demand for that, and so we're taking some of the space today that's used for a checkpoint and converting it to something that's we have a demand for. So this, I think, wraps up the walkthrough. That just kind of gives you an idea. And we're at about 60% design, and so as we refine a little more, we'll probably have it updated. But I think it's pretty cool what technology can do, where you can have an idea and then look at it and walk through it before it's even constructed.
Great. Thank you for the great news, Jeff. And we all know as travelers, the best part or the worst part of your experience of a vacation starts and ends at the airport. And we have the best airport now in the world, I think, now. But these new enhancements are just unbelievable. So thank you. I mean, we started our trip to Berlin last week. It was a beautiful city, but you get off in Berlin, you're getting off on this ladder out in the rain. You had to get off, you had to ride a bus across the tarmac to get to the building. And when you see those type of systems in place across the world, and you come here, this definitely changes your perception of your vacation when you come here. So it should help our visitors a lot. So thank you. Any questions for the council?
Jeff, I might have missed it, and I apologize. Timing, 2020?
Oh, I probably didn't. Besides so we're designed now, and design will finish up this fall, and so bidding probably first of next year, and then start construction next year, and then 2.5 years of construction. Okay. So, and that'll be the interesting part. I think the benefit that we had in 2005 was it was a greenfield site. We just built a whole new building and then move over. We're going to be doing, of course, all this while we still have to operate. And it'll be somewhat complicated as we try. We have to, of course, keep the checkpoints open, but then we'll be working on 2023. It'll be pretty hectic the next couple of years, but obviously certainly needed and worth it.
And like Jeff said, a lot of the work, like the ticket counters in the front end, all that's going to occur during the nighttime hours. There's no flights coming in usually. So that the visitors won't see a lot of that construction. Staff-wise, they're going to have their hands full for security and TSA and everything as far as keeping personnel on the ground. But yeah, it's just, a lot of that's going to be non-disruptive. But when you do the major construction add-on to the backside, that's going to be some construction there. So yeah, so thank you. And also, I guess we're going to pick up some extra gates for the TSA because obviously that's needed now. So that's going to be some additional checkpoints with the consolidation.
Ultimately, we end up with more checkpoint lanes, yeah.
Right.
So that really addresses our capacity issue. We also are trying to, there's some newer technology today that's being rolled out at airports at the checkpoint itself that helps process passengers quicker. So that also helps our situation. So we're actually trying to get some of that new technology now so we can start using it today. I think we've been working with TSA on that. We hope to have a couple new machines by next year. And then ultimately, the new checkpoint would have all new equipment. So.
Any other questions for Jeff? Great. Well, thank you, Jeff. Great news.
That's good.
Good job. Next, we'll go to the report of the Executive Director, Tamara.
All right, very quickly. Bed tax collection for January was down very slightly, 0.8% or 0.8%, just under $4.5 million. For the year, we are down 5.2%. And remember, that's the year that began October 1st, $12.5 million. And I will remind you that was about 7.9 last month, so it's getting better as we go along. Occupancy for the month of January came in at 75.7, down 4%. ADR was down 2.6%, just 159, and for RevPAR of just under 121, down 6.5%. The good news is 8.7% more passengers passed through the airport in January. And for the year, that is for the year for them, because they do that on the calendar year, so same number for the year. I have Brian here to give you...
We have a question.
Oh, sorry, but Rob.
It's a real small number, but the difference, and I know we've discussed this before, but just as a refresher, January 2018 preliminary versus final.
Yes. So all year long, the clerk's office can collect late payments. So what you see in the final number reflects all the late payments that are collected for the year. So let's say a January payment is made in April, it'll get credited back as a late payment for January. So it'll be reflected on the month it was collected for. Doesn't necessarily come in on time, but it is a small number, as you see. So Brian is going to update you on our marketing efforts and particularly talk to you about our summer efforts that are being planned.
Good morning, everyone, members of council. Again, my name is Brian Osowski, Marketing Director for the VCB. I do have a lot of information to share with you today over the next 15 minutes, so I'd just like to jump right in. Start with spring training. This year we stepped up our game, no pun intended, for spring training. And one of the things we did was run a spring training sweepstakes with both teams, the Twins and the Red Sox. Here you'll see the sweeps created for the Twins and for the Red Sox. The results were fantastic. 9,900 entries there for the Red Sox, almost double that, just under 18,000 for the Twins. Wanted to quickly share a note with you that was written to our marketing coordinator, Josh Lambert, from our Twins sweepstakes winners, Terry and Matt, that you see here in these pictures. Just to let you know, we made it safe and sound back home to Minnesota. We had an incredible experience and everything went smooth as silk. Thank you so much for everything you did to make our trip a success. We did take you up on fancies. It was delish. We loved Sanibel Island and would love to come back. In fact, my husband Matt is already talking about it. So it's nice when someone takes the time to write back, they had a fantastic experience. Just shows the type of hospitality that we have and all of our guest service efforts. They really pay off. Also this year, we worked with both teams to secure their mascots for a 2-day shoot on Fort Myers Beach. The resulting videos will be evergreen, meaning that no dates are tied to them so that we can use them for years to come. They'll be humorous, of course, because they feature the mascots. And we're going to use these videos on our social channels, as well as at Target Field in Minneapolis for this year's Lee County Day on June 19th. Some media that we have in market running right now, these are some quick examples I'd like to share with you. Certainly not close to everything that's running, but just a few things we've been working on. We have a series of native articles running on TripAdvisor, a new landing page on the main Brand USA website, more content through Brand USA, this directed toward our UK audience as part of My USA magazine. This particular article, of course, about the Great Calusa Blueway. We have a really cool flex frame unit that you see right up here. That runs at the top of the New York Times travel section online. On the left is a video, and of course the entire unit links to our website. We're able to change that out as we go, and it will run on rotation now through the end of our fiscal year, through the end of September. And a series of custom emails that we're running with the New York Times audience, their subscriber base. And for the sake of time, just share some other things with you that are also running right now or coming soon. We have an integrated package with Lonely Planet. We're sponsoring a photo contest that's a year-long effort with Smithsonian. A fantastic integrated package that's running right now with Garden and Gun. And coming up, to go after our family targets, integrated package with Parents Magazine. All right, let's jump right into the 2019 summer campaign, starting with some shifts in our media markets. And this is probably one of the most important things that I want to talk to you about today. It's a shift we're making, again, primary and secondary markets. First, I wanted to quickly review what we look at when we make these types of decisions. Obviously, we look at our target audiences, the population size of each particular target audience in each market, as well as the total population of our audiences in those markets. We look at a number of performance indicators, our Google Analytics goal completion rate, is the market engaging with our website? Of course, our TV, digital, and radio media investments, how did the market perform in driving inquiries and leads? Adara gives us insight to the attributable flights and hotels, hotel stays from each of those markets. And we look at the airlift that's available into RSW. We even go as far as subscribing to VisaView, which tells us what our visitors are spending when they're in market and what they're spending money on. So a lot of data at our disposal to make these decisions. So that said, we are making some strategic shifts in the middle of the fiscal year to give ourselves the best opportunity to grow the existing markets that we have and to aggressively pursue some new origin markets that have ranked very, very high in our research. So, the biggest recognizable change from this list that you'll see has to do with broadcast television. When we talk about primary markets out of state and secondary markets out of state, what we're really talking about is what markets are we going to be able to run broadcast television in and what markets will be strictly digital. So, you see the green on the list on the left. We're adding Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Hartford, Charlotte, Denver, Kansas City, and Grand Rapids to our out-of-state primary list. That means that moving from primary to secondary, in the gold color on the right-hand side will be Detroit, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus, St. Louis, and Milwaukee. I want to reiterate, this doesn't mean that we're not marketing in those areas anymore. It just means that we're redirecting our investments in broadcast television. Let's take a look at some of the creative that we're putting together for our summer campaign. It's informed by one key element this year, that on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, families don't need to worry about every single detail, because our destination is entertaining for kids and easy for adults. The insight here, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your family vacation. So we're going to position the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel as a place where everyone in the family can just be themselves, and a good time together is guaranteed. We call it Family for Real. And here's how it works. Overall, we're going to use humor to create an emotional connection with our audiences. Our video, short pre-roll videos that rely on text with minimal voiceover. We have a very robust out-of-home effort this summer that I'm going to share more details with you here in a few minutes. Of course, our traditional print and digital placements, and then over-the-top social media. User-generated content, hashtag marketing, giveaways, sweepstakes, influencers, everything that you can imagine. So, for out-of-home, digital display boards, as you see here on the left, will rotate funny family vacation photos that we'll actually get from user-generated content, and we'll update those rotations so that repeat viewers consistently see new content. The static boards, like you see there on the bottom right, will be consistent with our brand creative for summer. So, I'm going to provide a little more detail here than I would normally, just because we are very, very pleased with the markets and these placements and the overall scope of this summer's out-of-home efforts. Starting in Boston. This board that you see here is a digital board just outside of Fenway Park, of course home to the Red Sox. The area is lined with bars and restaurants, the House of Blues, many other locations, many other bars and restaurants, activities. These digital boards also in the same area, just outside of Fenway Park, where there's a lot of foot traffic. Chicago, right in the center of Lincoln Park's cool nightlife scene. These are twin units positioned at the only six-corner intersection in the area, surrounded by a variety of museums, theaters, and clubs. Now this right-hand read is large and in charge, I like to say, in Andersonville. This is a neighborhood known for LGBTQ, cool thrift stores, and its walkability. It's probably my personal favorite. It's a hand-painted brand mural that's appropriately called the Colossal. Can't wait to see this one come to fruition. In Denver, on the left, it's a full-motion LED display in the Denver Theater District. It's a known hotspot for marketers like us to participate in activations and sponsorship opportunities. And then on the right-hand side, that's another digital board. That reads toward traffic headed to the Convention Center and to the Center for the Performing Arts in Denver. In New York, these boards located at the intersection of 42nd Street and 8th Avenue in Midtown. They're right across from the Port Authority Terminal. They're at the start and end point of about 225,000 commuters' daily travels back and forth to work. In the area, the New York Times building, Ernst & Young, NASDAQ, the Bank of America building, Bryant Park. High traffic area in New York. Finally, in Philadelphia, these cool new curved LEDs we call the East Market Domination. They're positioned one story above street level, and they reach a mix of business professionals, millennials, and tourists. In that general vicinity is Philadelphia's City Hall, the Convention Center, the Liberty Bell, and Independence Hall. Here's a few more shots of these cool new curved LEDs. So, our out-of-home is running in Boston, Chicago, Denver, New York, Philadelphia, from early to mid-April through mid-May or late June, depending on the board and the placement. It's going to be a total of just over 14 million estimated impressions for us. Moving on to social media, we will encourage users to share their funny and unedited family photos using hashtag FTMyersFamily. And as I mentioned, some of those photos will be chosen to actually appear on our digital boards. Our agency will work with us to create a funny Fort Myers family t-shirt that resembles family reunion t-shirts that you see there, which we'll give away on social media. We're also going to create a series of dad jokes and puns that will be shared as our post copy. Images will have text overlays saying, "Dad jokes belong on the beach," showing in Fort Myers and Sanibel you can be who you are without any judgment. Of course, we're going to encourage our social audience to share their stories and funny vacation outtake photos for a chance to redeem themselves on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, again, where it's okay to be who you are. One lucky family will win a trip to the destination and a professional family photo shoot on the beach. We'll also keep our influencer marketing going throughout the summer, and we're going to ask the influencers that we work with to also share their funny and non-staged family vacation outtake photos as well. So for broadcast and pre-roll, our first one of two TV spots that we're putting together this summer is for biking. This is one of the original storyboards. I don't have the finished spots to share with you today, but I did kind of want to give you some sneak peek insights as to what we're working on. The shot will open on a family biking toward the camera with soft, beachy music in the background, right? Then you're going to hear some upbeat rock and roll coming in, being played from a scooter as the teen boy catches up to his family. There'll be a wide profile shot of the family now as a group riding along, talking and laughing, and the voiceover, "You can't choose your family, but you can choose your family vacation. Take them to the place that brings you together." The family will have a beachy, island-esque wardrobe, which of course will be in contrast to our alternative teens' props and clothing. This is a still photo of the actual family during filming that helps bring this concept to life a little bit. I'd also like to this time thank Judy and her entire staff at the City of Sanibel for being so accommodating with us during these shoots. The second spot, this is a still photo from the spot we call Photobomb. More to come on these spots at our June meeting. So, our broadcast markets. You see our out-of-state broadcast markets, with a reminder we're adding Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Hartford, Charlotte, Denver, Kansas City, and Grand Rapids to our primary list, along with Boston, Chicago, Cleveland, Minneapolis, New York, and Washington, D.C. The timing on this, early April through mid-May, 55.5 million broadcast impressions. In-state, the markets don't change. Miami, Orlando, and Tampa for a campaign that starts early June and goes through early July, just under 10 million in-state broadcast impressions. Streaming radio is another component of our summer campaign. 8 in 10 Pandora listeners consider music a part of their travel adventures. So we are going to continue our efforts with Pandora. This platform has consistently performed well for us. Our ads are served up upon user interaction with the app, whether they give a song thumbs up or thumbs down. They hit play, they hit pause. Our 15 and 30-second audio spots and our responsored banner ads will be served up to our specific audience personas in between songs. This part of the campaign runs early April through early July and will yield 7.7 million estimated impressions. Additionally, we'll be running digital TV, our print ads, digital banner ads, email marketing, paid search, and consumer activations. I am available to discuss any more of these initiatives if you'd like to, but won't go into details on all of those for the sake of time today. So why will this work? It gives families permission to be themselves, just like the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. We are who we are. It puts a new twist on an old truth, that you can't choose your family. It shows that the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel are the best place for everyone in the family to share good times together, and for us, it's unexpected executions and a fresh tone of voice. It's a new direction. Does anybody have any questions I can answer? about any of the summer campaign components or creative.
Any questions?
Brian, that one of the family on the bicycles, is that one that they're showing the boy on with the board? Is that the ones that catch fire that?
Hoverboard.
Heads, power board?
Hover.
The hoverboard.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. We had a huge office debate about whether or not to use a hoverboard or a scooter. And we thought the hoverboard would convey better, which is why you saw that in the storyboard. But ultimately, we used the scooter because they don't catch fire.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Brian.
I'd like to close presentation today with a new destination video that was produced by the Matador Network. These are the same folks that produced our Eye on the Sea and Beyond the Beach videos a couple of seasons ago, and most recently Jill's new meetings video. We call this one The Personalities of the Islands. Enjoy.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Amber, did you have anything else?
Well, I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about ITB.
Go right ahead.
All right, so it is only a week ago. It feels like it's about a month ago because there's so much that's happened. But Stephanie, Commissioner Pendergrass, and I were able to attend ITB in Germany last week and had some very good conversations with our tour operators, travel media. And the good news is despite the last 2 challenging years, it looks like the year ahead is in good shape. More bookings. Almost every tour operator we spoke with indicated more bookings. You know, the exchange rate is still a challenge. Let's be honest about that. But we expect positive indicators out of Germany, and you can share about your experience.
Yeah, it was good conversations with all the different vendors from the airport guys to the marketing people. We did a lot of great interviews with them. I did a couple of interviews with German radio stations. It was good. And the good thing for us was I was kind of surprised that the water quality wasn't really a topic. They weren't really talking about it. So the efforts of some here locally didn't really project over to Germany. Their issue was the market exchange and also the Irma. They knew about Irma from the damage from that. They had concern about everything, all the other political rhetoric we see here locally with water issues. That really wasn't really the thing that captured their attention not to come here. It was other issues globally or financially. that I saw that when we talked to the tour guides, the people from that market in Germany. So I think with with Eurowings coming on those last 6 months, I guess, they've actually done a really good job the last few months being consistent. I know Tam had a meeting with the Eurowings people to explain to those concerned about being consistent with the flights and everything. I think with the consistency of the flights and getting more direct flights, I know Carol and the airport staff that were there, they're still working with different airlines over there to get more direct flights from other countries in Europe. I think that's our main goal, is to get those direct flights from London and other areas to here, to get those people here, to get their heads in their beds, here in our hotels, and get them here and be consumers. So we're going to continue doing that. But it was a pretty good time, though. We had some good efforts.
Good meetings.
Good meetings with everybody.
Absolutely.
And this is the first time I've been there, so it was a learning experience for me. I know Tamara and some staff, and Stephanie, I think she's here this morning too. They all did. There she is. Our staff and all our staff over there working with the marketing does a really good job getting their message out. You don't realize how big those shows are until you're there. There's about 125,000 people in that auditorium for the show total, and it's just, and we see how much money we're spending marketing. It's never enough, because you see what other countries and other areas, destinations are spending to get people to their area. It's unbelievable.
Very eye-opening, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
You go to a big convention hall and you think, oh, there's a lot of people in here. Well, there are 29 more of them. It's just hall after hall after hall, floor after floor after floor of destinations all over the world, and many of them sun and sand destinations, just like we are. I know Bill's been, and I think seeing that firsthand is a little bit shocking, and you realize that your tiny little destination and your tiny little community in Florida is one of many, many choices that consumers all over the world have to make. So we don't compete with Fort Lauderdale and St. Pete. We compete really with all the destinations in the world that have sun and sand. So. But I think we represented your area very well, and again, the report was positive, which I'm happy to hear, because it has been a challenging couple of years, I think, as we all know. So,
great, thank you, Tamara.
With that,
the next thing on the agenda, Emma's not been able to make it this morning. I think it was a notice put out that her flight was canceled from Denver for snow, the blizzard, so she's not going to be here for that presentation. And we'll go on to the next section. So Nancy, you have some business for us?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Part of the marketing budget goes to help our event and attraction partners. So I wanted to remind you that in October you appointed 2 subcommittees, events and attraction marketing, and I wanted to thank Pamela and Holly and Fran and Bill and Colleen, as well as Tony Lappy, who've served on these committees since October. So both of these programs are over 10 years old, so we're always trying to find ways to strengthen them, to create a good ROI for you. And this year we did that. The subcommittee's been working very hard, so what we'd like to ask for the full TDC to do this morning is to approve the guideline changes that the subcommittee has brought forward. So I'll start with events marketing and just share with you our tweaks to that program. This program is slated to open on March 25th for next fiscal year, so that's why it's important that we approve guidelines today. At the February 14th meeting of the subcommittee, it was decided that we would allow peak season events to be funded through this program. Formerly, this program only funded off-season events, obviously to drive room nights in the need period. We feel that some of the resources haven't been fully allocated, and I think we can all use an opportunity to promote another new event. This might drive new events to us. It's also going to affect a couple event partners that were in the attractions program. But we're going to work through the transition, and we think it's the right move to make at this time. Of course, the subcommittee wants to maintain priority to those off-season events. So if you were to really dive deep into that packet, which is lots of pages, I realize, you will see that there will be bonus points to to events that remain in the off-season, so not through February through April. So that's the first change that we're hoping that you'll approve. Pam, do you have anything else to add?
No, I would just like to move this forward. I have, as you guys know, I have been an advocate of not funding the seasonal events. But it makes sense now, because with the allocations between the attractions and the events, we've worked really hard on this over the years, and I hope you'll move that forward. So if anybody has any questions, obviously we'll respond to them, but it just really is starting to make sense now to level this out, because the attractions program has a huge number of applicants, and the events program has a little less, and we want to support those, and a lot of them are during season because they need to do them during season because it makes sense to start a new event during season. So I would like to make the motion to make these two priorities.
I would second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Any objection? No objection, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, the next program, the Attractions Marketing Program, which is administered by the Community Foundation. Tessa and Tricia are here. Thank you for assisting us with that. This program has had very little changes to it over the years. The budget for it is not enough to cover the allocation. The requests. We get over $750,000 requested and about $400,000 budgeted. So some of these changes are going to help us with that issue. The first one, of course, is to reduce the maximum allocation from $25,000 down to $20,000, and we've rarely ever given $25,000. So we feel that recommendation is a good one. If there's any, I'll pause after each point if you'd like, if anybody wants to discuss that one. Okay, the second one is to maintain the requirement that nonprofits hold 501c3 status, which has been the way it's always been. We had considered doing something different, and the subcommittee decided not to. So, the third one, and I have to apologize to the subcommittee because in the packet, the way it's drafted, we just want to tweak the sentence. Right now, it says that the organization must have their financial statements compiled or reviewed by a third-party CPA and provide results in their agency's funding request. You don't want to see that. You have lots and lots of pages to peruse. So we would like to change this to read, the organization must have their financial statements compiled or reviewed by a third party and provide the results upon request of the VCB or the Community Foundation. That's a simple tweak, and it takes the burden off of that document that you have to read. Any questions on that one?
Any questions?
The fourth one is directly related to the events ruling that you just made, and that is that the peak season events that formerly were funded through attractions need to move to events. There was only 2, and we've been in communication with them, and we are going to help them through that transition. We believe they'll be successful in the events marketing program. The attractions marketing program is dedicated for year-round attractions that are producing visitor enhancements. Finally, this is going to be probably a little challenging for some of our partners, but we believe it's the right move, and it parallels with what the VCB does marketing-wise, and that's in an effort to encourage growth in digital and social marketing. The printing distribution costs for travel guides, attraction maps, rack cards, and direct mail will no longer be eligible. Any questions on that one? Again, this is going to make these smaller attractions more marketing savvy, working digitally and socially. And finally, the last one is for the subcommittee, and that is just to adjust the timeline so we can complete the review in a timely. Last year, we were down to the bones in mid-August still doing it, so you'll be done by July. So those were the changes for this program. And both documents, should you approve the second one, will be posted today for partners to review them before the cycle's open.
Yes.
Make the motion to approve the marketing program guideline changes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Fran. Any other discussions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any objection? Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Next, council information. Pam, do you have anything for us? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I forgot that one. I'm sorry. We got one more. I'm sorry. Jesse, come on up. Got ahead of Jesse there.
Good morning, Commissioner.
You're so quiet, Jesse. You just kind of,
He is quiet.
Speak softly, right?
Yeah, we heard about this earlier in public comments, so thank you.
I'm here before you today to talk about an out-of-cycle request for the Matanzas Pass Preserve boardwalk replacement, paddlecraft, and pavilion replacement project. Just to give you the project summary, we're requesting funds to the amount of $1.1 million. I know that's a large amount of money, but there's been numerous circumstances that have happened over the years that have caused the increase in cost. This project includes the replacement of the elevated boardwalks along the Davis-Simpson Trail and replacement of the paddlecraft and landing and pavilion. The current status is the boardwalks do not meet ADA standards. There's numerous structural damage that's been caused by tidal action over the years, as well as some of it during the hurricane. I can promise you the new materials, should you approve this, will withhold this environment much longer than these did. And then in total, it's a 1.25 mile distance that we would be improving and replacing. So just to show that, I'm sorry I got cut off above, but basically this is the project. We have 6 foot wide. All of this is brand new. So some of it exists now, and I'll get into that in just a minute, but basically we're widening the entryway to 10 foot wide. There's a bridge involved in that. And then for the majority of the trail, it's 6 foot wide. There's a couple benches, the proposed floating kayak launch, and the pavilion. Both of those exist today. And I'll get into, what has happened over the course of the last, few years. So again, this is the entire trail system at Matanzas Pass Preserve. The sections in red are just ground level. They aren't on boardwalks. The sections in blue are all boardwalks. So you can kind of see what it looks like as the red coconut would be down where it says current, just below that. And they have a trail that ties into that park. So over the years, phase 1, back in the early 90s, would be all of this, okay? Phase 2 came in the last 3 years, and that was to take this from existing grade to a boardwalk to improve ADA accessibility. And then came phase 3 and 4, which would be replacing the boardwalks, kayak launch, and pavilion. If you remember during last year's cycle, I came before you and said, we haven't done phase 1, 3, or 4. Let's just call it one project and go with that. Let's fix everything that needs to be fixed in one fell swoop. So that's the 1.1 million that I'm asking for today. And here's a detail of the expenses. 16-17, we only spent $3,600 on design. That was for phase 2. In 17-18, we only asked for $35,000 because we had the $185,000. We only spent $48,606. So if those numbers look skewed to you, the 185, we only used 3,600 carried into. We asked for 35, and we were still in design and permitting. So this project requires South Florida water management permits, Army Corps permits, as well as our local, town of Fort Myers Beach, as well as the county. And then during the last cycle, as I mentioned, I asked for $405,000, which at the time is what we thought we needed to do the project. Now here's where we're at today. We have an available budget of $530,000. After speaking with our consultant, who's Coastal Engineering, it's been determined that in order to do everything that needs to be done, we need an additional $1.1 million. which would make the total project at the end of the day, have everything we spent up to this point, plus what we're asking, plus what we have, about 1.725. Again, as with all our projects, any money that is left unspent will come back to the TDT fund.
Thank you. Any questions?
Here's our timeline, and here's why I'm before you today. We received our Army Corps permit early. We received our South Florida Water Management permit actually the day after that. So we have a few little tweaks with the design, which will be done this summer. Should you approve the funding, it will allow us to start the bidding process because you've approved the funds. We have the funds. We're allowed to start bidding, which takes time. We can start construction in September of 2019. It will take 4 to 6 months, and we won't miss another season. Again, there's different variables involved in this project. It's a preserve. It's kind of a pain to get to a lot of the areas. So we're going to have to use small equipment, and everything else is going to have to be carried in. So that's another driving force with the cost. Any questions?
Any questions? Rob and Holly? Good.
Oh, okay. Just a question and then also a comment. Where the funding, would this be coming out of a reserve so it does not affect an upcoming budget? Okay. And then my comment would be whenever I hear ADA, that's a real concern, and safety is a major issue. So that is something that probably needs to be done sooner than later. There are a lot of litigations going on in relation to ADA, so thank you for bringing this to our attention. That's...
It's a timing issue. I'm wondering why, if it's been closed for quite a while now, why this didn't come in front of a regular, maybe I missed it earlier on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to explain that. Yeah. So we did, it was just an evolution, Rob. It was the hurricane, it was, after the hurricane we had a structural analysis done, and we had to close the pavilion and the kayak launch because of that. If you go under the water level, of a dock, it's this thick versus, the full thickness. So we had to close that. It's very similar to the, I'll be before you again during the cycle for the Matlacha Fishing Pier. Very similar circumstances there to where our pilings are just, they're done, and they can't support humans walking on them. And I can't take that liability, obviously. So.
And in fairness to Jesse, I checked in with him on this project because I had been getting some questions from the community. And he said, Tam, I have good news. I just got my permits. We're going to put this in for the next cycle, but I just got my permits. And I said, well, is there any chance we could do it sooner? And then, Jesse and I together approached county administration, says it looks like he can go a little bit sooner if we can get this facility reopened. A couple of months is a couple of months. I mean, that's good news, the opportunity to have it reopened potentially before we hit January next year. That's pushing, I realize, but the sooner we get it open is another season we don't miss. So in fairness, I know an out-of-cycle request is unusual, especially like this, but I did sort of encourage him to come talk to you about it.
Well, I would be, in a regular cycle, we would be attempting to do any repairs and maintenance before we'd be doing infrastructure expansion. So to me, it would be a no-brainer in the regular cycle anyway. So I guess we're doing it out of cycle, but it would be a very important spend to get this where it's
correct.
Again, as Pam said, the whole point of me being here is to have the funds approved to start the bidding. That whole procurement process takes a while, and that allows us to pull the trigger on September.
And it doesn't make us lose another season.
Right.
Correct.
Quick question on, so does this affect, are we going to take this out of the beach and shore, like what's available for beach and shoreline when that cycle goes through? Because the timing of, we don't want to wait for the guidelines, or for that date, but Are we going to have the full funds for beach and shoreline
And
funding?
that was my question, making
Right.
sure that it was
This is a lot of
coming out of
money.
reserves and not affecting the coming year's budget for beach and shoreline.
It should come out of beach and shoreline, though, right?
You want
I mean, we're talking.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Colleen, I mean, the idea here would be, yeah, I mean, it'll come out of beach and shoreline, but there's only so much allocation left, and any amount above that would have to come out of reserves. So, I mean, you are ultimately looking at a reserves project here, a common reserves project. But we want to keep the beach and shoreline program whole for the next cycle, so we don't want, well, at least that was the thought here, is keeping the program whole for the next cycle as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
And that was my question. And that would be important to me to make sure that we are not taking this funding out of our upcoming beach and shoreline allocations. I think we do need to make that whole, and I know I know our reserves are in a position that we could probably safely and efficiently use that reserve money.
Certainly.
And that's why we have reserves, and I think that's strong, and I think that's a really good thing. Sorry, Fran.
Fran?
I can't tell you how bad this is back there. I've seen tourists, especially one lady that I saw climbing over the barricades. And I'm getting tremendous pressure from most of the tourists saying, you know, why can't we use it? And it's been 2 years. So it's not a good situation. I mean, we really need to do this.
Okay, any other questions?
Could I make a motion?
Yes.
I would make a motion. I'm sorry.
Before you make your motion, can you please include as part of your motion that the council will make a legislative finding that this primarily promotes tourism in order to get TDC funding?
Okay. So I would make a motion that we move forward on the allowance for the $1.1 million to come out of the reserves, and that this does promote tourism. Is that correctly stated for you? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any other discussion? Any objection? No objection. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. We're going to the council information. Pam, would you have anything for us?
Yes, I do have something for us. I don't usually do this, but I just have this friend who lost his 26-year-old son yesterday. And so all I want to say is when we walk out of here today, let's pick up the phone, let's text, let's email, and tell somebody you love them. And let's don't forget how important relationships are and how much love we have for each other. And I love being on this board, and it's my favorite thing to do. And sorry, that's where I am. Thank you.
Thank you. Good words. Holly?
We've had some things going on, so I just want to briefly let you know what's been going on in our community, and then at a little bit from the micro to the macro level. We did have our opening of our Jordan Marsh Water Quality Treatment Park, which is a filter marsh on Sanibel. We would welcome and encourage you all to come over and take a look. It's another step in water quality, which we are all very concerned about. I did attend the South Florida Water Management District meeting yesterday, which again is huge for water quality, which is our hot button. Our own Chauncey Goss was placed in the chair position for that, which is very, very exciting. Also, the executive director was named, and that's Drew Bartlett, and he currently is the deputy secretary of the Ecosystem Restoration Task Force, and I have worked with Drew since I have been on council, and this is, I'll tell you what, it is a home run for the state of Florida for what is going to be happening on the Water Management District Board, and I'm really excited about that. They also, yesterday, they did award the contract for C-43 Reservoir, so that was a $524 million contract approved, and again, these are all water quality issues, and I know that's really important to our tourism industry. So we're all working really hard to make sure that all those things are moving forward. Just a couple of bills that I just wanted to, a bill was brought to my attention. I'm on a Monday morning legislative call-in, and a current bill, it's called 791, and it's in regards to sports development, and some of you here might be a little bit familiar. I did talk to Mr. Saylor before the meeting, and this is I don't know a lot about the bill. It's just been introduced, and I believe it does have to do with sports development and no TDC money for facilities. So that's a watch, and I want to better understand how that could affect what we do and where the money can go to and be spent for. Another item that I just wanted to briefly talk about was just the short-term rentals. There's several bills out there. I'm working very much in sync with the Florida League of Cities on the short-term rental bills, and I will not go into all of them with you, but there are some that we support, some that we oppose, only because that does take away the ones we oppose takes away our ability of home rule. And if any of you would like me to get on an email with you to keep you updated on that, I'd be happy to do so. So that is all I have, and thank you very much for giving me that time.
Thanks for the good news. If I could ask my Vice Chairman, Rob, to pick up for me here. I got to leave to another meeting. I'm already running a few minutes late, too. So, Rob, if you don't mind picking up, if you could knock off a friend there. Thank you. You're almost done. Thank you.
Fran?
We just finished our shrimp festival on Fort Myers Beach. It was very successful, lots of fun. I've never seen this many people on Fort Myers Beach. But we are packed. I'm sure Sanibel and the rest are too, but we are packed. I guess, Bill, you and I haven't talked, but we have a little bit of red drift algae. I spoke with Judy a little bit before, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And so we're having a great season. I might add, I think Bill would agree with me that we really, really must have loyal people coming every year because our roads are just horrendous. I mean, it's really, really bad, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. I know Bill's full on full. So we do have loyal people that come back here every year, and I think that's really, really important. And I agree with what Pam said down there. I'm going to call somebody shortly.
Jeff, you want to make any comments to the TDC?
You want me to?
Do you want us to respond? Do you want us to respond to the HB 791 or anything like that?
Right up. I think this would be a good time to do it if you want.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So House Bill 791 is certainly something we're tracking, and Jeff is on top of it with his counterparts throughout the state. There was a Senate proposal to discontinue a program that rebates sales tax to professional sports franchises. It's never been funded, not been used. So, there's legislation to essentially deauthorize, if that's a word. But given Miami's experience with the Marlins in particular, a House member there filed a much more expansive bill that would prohibit our ability to use TDT dollars for professional sports facilities. It would also do away, I think, if I recall, and Jeff can help me, it would do away with the spring training grant program that's currently in effect. And, of course, we benefit to the tune of $500,000 a year for the Twins complex. Now, as currently drafted, that would be grandfathered, is my understanding, so I don't think we would lose any of the dedicated funding that we have now. But our ability to improve the stadiums going forward would be impaired, if not altogether prohibited. So it is a big deal. We're absolutely watching it. Jeff may have some things to add. I'm just, we're hoping that the Senate proposal, which is much more modest and really doesn't have any practical effect, we're hoping that's where they're actually going. So I hope that helps a little bit. Jeff, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, perfect explanation of it, Glenn. The Senate Bill 414 does have a companion, which is similar language. So this House Bill 791, the only thing I think that really we were concerned about, as Glenn stated, was apparently in committee meetings there was some discussion about actually taking away the current funding allocations. So that means that our funding stream coming in, which we bonded against, would actually end, and we wouldn't continue to get the dollars from the state. Very, very unlikely that would happen.
Yeah, that is unlikely. Just from a legal perspective, they don't really have the ability to impair current contracts. So, I mean, committee discussion, but it didn't make the bill yet, so I don't think that will happen.
We don't either, and the Florida Association of Counties was there, and they're very aware of this bill, and so everyone's just watching it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could we say one more thing? Just following up on the Councilwoman's comments about the Water Management District. So just so everybody knows, Drew Bartlett is the person that we worked with most closely, almost daily, in fact, during the harmful algal bloom outbreak this past year. And so incredibly instrumental in getting us all of that funding that preserved the common TDT reserve that we just talked about earlier. So he's just a great person to work with. It is exciting to see him at the district, and I will also tell you, we just had a meeting with him prior to this announcement. We didn't know this was coming. We had a meeting with him, his staff at DEP, and some other water management district folks to talk about a water quality component for the C43 reservoir. And he committed at that, so I hope this doesn't change, but he committed at that time that they would find funding to do the feasibility study for that water quality component. You know, we've been advocating for that since C43 was first unveiled, and this is the first time we've ever actually gotten anywhere on it. So you're seeing some really great developments, so thank you for bringing that up. And
We are very excited.
appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen?
A couple of updates having to do with water quality. There are 7 chambers that do meet monthly. We call ourselves the Southwest Florida Alliance of Chambers right now. So we did go to Tallahassee in February, and we took our water quality priorities there. They had the science that backed them up. I'm happy to share those if anybody wants those. All of our boards have approved them, so we were able to take them with confidence. And we went up with 55 people from the area, and quite frankly, the entire thing was about water quality. So they are hearing us. So it was a great trip, and there's more to come with that, I think, as we do more with that. But if you ever want to hear what we're doing, I'm happy to share that. It's Cape Coral, it's Fort Myers Beach, Fort Myers, Sanibel Captiva, Naples, Bonita Springs, and the Chamber of Southwest Florida. So the fact that you've got, pretty much 7 type A's all working together, this is great. Couple of 4 things that are going on. Our chamber lunch this month, I normally don't talk too much about chamber events here, but we are going to focus on future makers and where we've been and where we're going, and that is at the Crown Plaza next Thursday. So we hope you can join us. Chrysalis, as you know, we moved that to June 14th. We are now looking for trade show. If you want to have a trade show table, we're already selling them, so because we'll be limited to about 40. So if you're interested in doing a trade show table, the nominations are all in. For the most part, we're waiting for acceptance forms, having them cleaned up so that the judging process can begin. The Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, the Lee County chapter, if you missed our meeting this month or in February, Carol came. We had Carol Dover down here, and she is the head of FRLA out of Tallahassee. It was amazing. She did give us some updates, but there was some good stuff going on. She is so strong for our industry, so she takes good care of us. So she was here for that. But we're doing something interesting, something new, and I just want to make sure I give you all the right details. We don't have an event this month because everybody went to Tallahassee for Tourism Day this week. On April 25th, we're going to the Lee County School District because we're going to have the high school, the Pro Start Culinary Showcase. And the high schools, I think it's 4, or is it 4 high schools are going to cook us lunch. They're doing a showcase for us. So if you want to join us, if you don't even typically go to that event, it's just, you don't want to miss that. They're going to be creating meals and their centerpiece, and we're going to hear more about the Pro Start Culinary Program, but they're basically doing a cook-off for us. So if you have an opportunity to attend that. And Pam, we love you. Just know that. Right? Thank you.
Bill? As Colleen mentioned, Wednesday was Tourism Day. I spent the day with Tam and Jeff and Pam. And I will say thanks to Pam is, I think we started the day off with 1 appointment. We ended up with just under a half a dozen. So Pam opens the doors in Tallahassee. So if you need to get an appointment, take Pam, which was nice. But the big 4 topics we had were obviously water quality, full funding for Visit Florida, short-term rentals, and human trafficking was the big points that we hit on with them. And then from a business standpoint, we're seeing, it was interesting, the January, February, March, the booking window was actually 2 weeks longer at all of our resorts in Florida, so about 114 days. April's the complete opposite, a lot more shorter-term bookings, which is interesting. I think the storms and the cold weather is causing people even to make that another decision to make a trip in April. So looks to be a very good April for us. So.
Right. You know what? Fran's comments kind of led me to a question that I had for probably Fran or Bill. Fort Myers Beach, about 2 years ago, it seemed like that road improvement project they were looking at it. It was a 10-year project. And this year, I've heard almost nothing on it. Is there any update on that as to how, I guess it's been overshadowed by other things?
I think there was a question for him.
Well, you might recall that the board accelerated funding and made the decision to dramatically shorten the project timeline, and we are on track to deliver. So it went from 10 years to 6, and that's what's going to happen.
Has it been as equally as disruptive this year as it has in the past couple of years?
Well, probably so, but I'd leave that to the Fort Myers Beach.
But, I mean, the plus is it's a little bit further down, but
It's in front of Fran.
bad.
So you're celebrating that you've got 3 years left on the project.
There you go.
Great.
Half full.
Any more information anybody would like to share with the council? All right, so Thursday, April 11th is the next TDC meeting. Make sure we have that on our calendars. And if not, Tam.
We skipped over the council's information. I just want to let you know in your packet there are a couple of things that I think you might want to take a look at. One is a Visit Florida Red Tide report that relates specifically to our area, where they did some consumer surveys and asked them how they feel about our area given last summer's red tide. I think it's very interesting. You'll want to take a look at that. There's also the 2018 visitor profile report. The complete year is in there. And from U.S. Travel, a 2018 domestic travel report. It's long, but if you're a wonk like I am, you might find some good tidbits in there. So it's a lot of information, but some good stuff for you if you have trouble sleeping this weekend.
Thank you, Tam.
You're welcome.
There's nothing else. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. It was a long one. Yeah. Lots of